Thanks for joining and welcome back to Wall Street Silver. Our guest today is E.B. Tucker, the author of Why Gold, Why Now, and the editor of the Tucker Letter. Welcome back, E.B. How have you been?
Thanks for having me. It's been way too long.
Yeah, it's been such a long time since you've been on Wall Street Silver. I wanted to get you back on to talk about everything that's happening in the market. First, though, we'll start off, of course, with gold and silver. Gold this year, EB, has been really taken off. Has it been surprising to you or no? Did you already see this coming from the
Well,
years prior?
what's surprising is it's not 3,000. I mean, that's really the price probably ought to be 3,000. Now, I don't say that like I'm disagreeing with the market, don't get me wrong. But
Right.
but what's been happening right now is we have a big rotation going on. The last few days, you've seen it, tech's going down, gold's going up. I'm not necessarily as like hardcore about metals as you would think. I mean, in honor of our meeting today, I went and like thought I would have a couple of blocks of metal on the desk, But so I mean, I keep a lot of metal, but the reason I keep it is not like it's not like some speculative bet. I mean, it's just that
Right.
if you don't have some of this stuff, you're crazy. I mean, seriously, like the time to buy it is it's kind of like when's a good time to plant an oak tree? Yesterday, right? So or today. So what you find is that like they're very cheap, and you're going to look back and I think you're going to say like, wow, I mean these metals were really cheap, and so you don't need to go overboard, but like you need some. What happens is if you're going to be wealthy, which if you're watching this video, that's your aim, right? It's
Right.
nothing wrong with that, by the way, because what it means is that you have some ability to steer your life. Like you're not being somebody's not telling you to sit down Simon Says all day, right?
Right.
It's like you're able to do increasingly more things you want to do, and you can tell people that you don't want to do things when you don't want to do it. That's the goal. So the reason I like metals, I always have, and as you mentioned, I wrote a whole book about this, is that you just get a little bit every now and then, and you stabilize yourself a little bit, and you sleep great, and you just feel you don't get as upset about things, and you don't feel like you're getting whipped around when the market's up and down, and it helps you see clearly, and you make better decisions. That's why you get them. So I think your gold price goes to 3,000 like pretty quickly. I mean, this last few days has been pretty nuts. I mean, you've seen
Yeah.
some big moves, and I don't know. I mean, it's controversial to say this, but like the futures market controls the spot market, right? It's like
Right.
the tail wags the dog, and it's actually not really a conspiracy. The thing is that it's so easy to move the price. Why would you not do it? And
Right.
I don't know if there's this book called The Prize. Do you remember this book? The oil
No.
book called it's a really important book in the oil markets called The Prize. So
Uh-huh.
Jurgen wrote it. Yeah. And so basically The Prize, before he wrote the book or like simultaneous, he did this like video series back in the 90s. It's like early 90s. And it's basically the whole history of oil. It's really fun to watch. It's free
Really?
on Amazon. And there's this little part in it. If you watch it very carefully, there's this little part in it where he says something very important for the gold market, and he talks about there's a lot of deep history in how the oil market evolved, and one of the big turning points for the West was in the 80s. They sort of figured out that they could prevent another energy crisis by controlling the oil price using the futures market, and he does it pretty much just like that. Okay, and when you hear that as a metal person, you're like, oh, yeah, that sounds familiar.
Right.
so like
Yeah.
so basically the reason I bring that up is because you look at the price today. Where did the gold price go? 2450. Now, even if you're like totally into silver, you got to watch the gold price. I mean, like the gold market is the more liquid market, it's the more actively traded market, and
Right.
it's kind of like the mothership, for the metals market. And so you got to watch the gold price, and you see real heavy volume pulling to that 2450 level, and those round number levels are big delivery levels, and they're big places where people have risk on, and there's a lot of action there. I mean, I'm telling you, you'll have there are days, highball days, where you'll have. I watch it on this. This is a Bloomberg terminal, so I watch this stuff.
Right.
You'll have like 45 million ounces of gold trade on the futures market. Now,
That's crazy.
that's like it's crazy. I mean, and so people say, "Oh, well, that shouldn't happen." Well, actually, it's not true, because what it is that like you might put that trade on for some other reason. You might be like somebody that does something totally different, and you want that gold trade on for some synthetic reason, and
Right.
that market's available to you. It's very liquid. It's kind of like treasury futures or options on treasury. This stuff is very deep. So don't get hung up. Like, don't make a federal case over what's going on there. But it's important to realize that, like, there's not that much physical product, and the price is going to go higher. And here's one more thing I want to tell you.
Right.
I know a lot of dealers. I'm sure you also know a lot of dealers. What they tell me is that the phone rings 10 times, there's 8 people selling and 2 people buying. Okay. And what that tells me is there's a lot of people that bought gold when Mr. T was selling it 12, 14 years ago or something. And I'm sure they
Right.
did the same thing with 2011, September. I remember distinctly, silver was like $30.
That's
And it
insane.
felt cheap. It felt cheap because it had been 50 overnight in like April. So 30 felt cheap, and it's still $30. So the gold rally's here. Okay. The average people are selling. They're almost always wrong. So they're selling. Like, what I say about these people, they're very nice people, but these average people, they usually look for shelter after the storm. Right.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
like they bought a coin in 2011 for 1,800, and then finally the gold price is 2,000 14 years later, and they get rid of it. And where is the gold price going to go? Much higher. And
3,000.
so exactly. And so 3,000 is a nice gold price for a lot of different reasons. And if that's the case, then where does the silver price go? I mean, where do you think? I'm
I
curious.
think silver should be way over 50 if gold is hitting 3,000. It should at
All
least be
right.
in the
So
40-50.
okay, so $50 is 60 to 1 on the gold price, right?
Right.
Like a 60th. So as you know, I mean, that would be somewhat reasonable. You know, it's like keep going higher, right? That ratio is kind of important. You know, it's like 80
Right.
right now. So
Right.
if it went to 40 or something, I would think we would be in like a speculative bonanza, right? I mean, because typically, like, when things get a little strung out. So I mean, a $50 silver price. I mean, that's not that crazy.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah,
not
it's not
because, I
that
mean,
crazy.
yeah, I mean, the gold price is not going to go up overnight. It's not going to go up like on a Sunday night, $300. Forget about it. Because
Right.
the thing is like, for $80 and $90 an ounce, you can put on that futures short, and people are going to do that. Okay. And so it's going to walk up in a measured way. If you look at that chart, the chart, if you zoom out 20 years, looks fabulous. I mean,
Absolutely.
and it looks great in the shorter term too. But everybody that thinks like you're going to wake up one day and you're going to be trading gold for groceries, like, forget about it. I mean, it's not going to happen. These are highly liquid, highly leveraged, highly watch markets. Okay, with lots of depth, with lots of accessibility from retail to institutional to algorithmic level. Forget about it, top to bottom. So, however, they are in an uptrend.
Right.
And when you have something in an uptrend, what you do with it is you leave it alone. You leave it alone. You add to it, so you don't worry about, like, you'll know when it's cresting, when things get a little crazy. It's kind of like right now, the tech stocks are rolling over. Today was like your first 2% down day in a long time in the
Right.
Nasdaq. Okay, so, and the gold price did great. I mean, it was up this morning. It did fine. I mean, it's like, to be down. What is it down? Like $10, 24.59. I mean, that's the spot.
Right.
So like, think about it from this perspective, is that, like, that's not really, I mean, that's like a 40 basis point pullback. Okay. So, like, that's nothing. I mean, the NASDAQ was 5 or 6 times that today on,
That's right.
like, when you look at the percentage. And so why is that important? Because the problem that retail people make is that like, they don't really understand, like, that's like a big deal. Because if you're running an algorithmic model and you have minus 60 on one and minus 240 on another, that's a massive spread.
Yeah.
So like, people play this stuff, and right now we're in this like big rotation. I mean, I don't have to tell you, that you watch the news, so you know what's happening more broadly. But like, this is the time where you're like, all right, I mean, it looks like you're in the early stage of rotation. So you want to get positioned, and don't be
Yeah.
afraid to add to your winner. That's the other thing. It's like, people always want to buy the low, but it's impossible to do that.
Yeah,
I mean,
people are scared now to get silver, even if it's $30. They'll be like, "Oh, it's too
30
high."
bucks, man.
Yeah, it's $30,
30
$30.
bucks.
Yeah, get it done.
Yeah, $30. I mean, it's like I'm not going to, I mean, I'm not really in the business of saying do this, do that, but I don't really worry about price like you would think. I worry about the chart. So like,
Right.
if the thing's in an uptrend, it's like, I buy it.
And what about the USD? What about the US dollar? Do you think that
I
like where do you think that's
man,
going? He says,
nowhere,
man.
nowhere.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's true.
look. The problem is that, I mean, I go all, as you know, like I go all over the world.
Yeah.
I'm like, I love to travel, and I was talking to this friend of mine this weekend about this, and
Hmm.
she was saying, like, she goes, "There's nothing I love more than a travel boondoggle," meaning like, to go like to the backside of the world. You know, what I mean? It's like
Right.
I'm all over the place. So go deal with the yen, go deal with those. It's like what you start figuring out is that like this central bank coordination is so intense that it's very difficult to say like, okay, I'm going to go long, Aussie or something. It's like, it's really hard, man. It's really
Right.
hard. Like
Yeah, yeah.
all these currencies are weakening, and they try to kind of weaken in a way that's somewhat controlled. I mean, look at the yen. I mean, seriously, like
Oh yeah, it's
you,
insane.
you you've got to go to Japan. I mean, I'm a huge tennis player. I mean, like I use a Japanese racket called
Wow.
Yonex, and yeah, I
Wow.
mean, I love Yonex racket. So Yonex has a store in Tokyo that has all their products. It's a public company, by the way.
Oh,
So
no
like
way.
they have a store. Yeah, it's controlled by this family called like Yana Yeoman, I think is the name. So you can go to this corporate store, and they got like every product that they make. They all this Japanese stuff you don't see in the U.S. It was too hard to get it here.
Right.
And I mean, I just was in there like, I bought another racket, same one I use. Like, it's cheap. Everything is cheap, cheap, cheap. And you don't even know hospitality until you've hung out in Japan. I
Really,
mean, I
because
mean,
they're
it's
so
like it's
nice,
like,
hey? They're nice
oh,
down there.
oh dude, it's so great. I mean, it's not even, but it's not okay. They don't like serve you. Okay, it's not like they're not below you and they're
Right,
not
right.
above you.
Right,
They're just
right.
respectful. Like they just
Super
treat
respectful.
you like
That's
a
their
guest in their house.
I
Yeah,
love that. I love that.
yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah. So I
beautiful.
so I'm a big fan, and my point is the reason why it's a great time to go is because the yen is so cheap that like, I mean, you can stay. Like I wrote about this in my newsletter, ebtucker.com. Like I wrote about everywhere I went. I went all over the country. That
Wow.
I was looking for olive fed wagyu. I don't know if you ever heard of it,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
it's
I
actually
have
like
heard of it. Yeah, yeah, that's like
I I
the
I
most
found the
expensive.
island where, yeah,
Nice.
where it comes from. It's shaped like a cow. I went there. I stayed on an olive orchard. I did all
Wow.
this. It was really fun. And the funniest thing is I got all the way there, and the guy's like, "Oh, you don't want to have that beef." It was really funny. And so anyway, but I had a great time there, and I had all these great meals and stuff. But the point is, like, I wrote about all these places I went because I'm trying to show people, like, for four or $500 a night, you can stay in a place where you in Tokyo where you feel like the emperor. I mean, it's like
Yeah. Not like the
you've just
US. You
never
can you can spend three, four
you
hundred bucks at a dinner in the US.
well, you're at a double tree. I mean,
Yeah.
so like, yeah, I mean, you're at a place where like you got all the newspapers are waiting for you, like in a basket in the morning, and like it's crazy, man.
Yeah.
It's just so crazy, and so I just had the best time. And anyway, I don't want to get off track. My point is, um, once you have that perspective, then you realize that like if the dollar's getting weaker, the goal of the central planners is for you to not have anywhere to hide.
Right, right.
That's the goal of the central planners. And
They don't
so
want you
if
to
you've
own
got,
gold.
yeah, I mean, you notice how gold's like rarely talked about. It's pretty obscure. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like you can still buy it all over, man. I mean, by the way, this coin is this is a
Um,
50 peso, 50 peso. Do you know
nice.
it? Yeah.
No,
So
I've
it's
seen them
really
before.
cool
I've seen them
because,
before.
yeah, so the 50 peso is 37 and a half grams. So it's
Right,
more than an ounce. And
right.
it's cool because like these coins are really old. I mean, this is like these things are super old, and you can find them all over the place and nobody wants them. I mean, you can just,
That's
it's cheaper
insane.
because, yeah, because the premium is like
A
lower
lot
because it's
lower.
more
Yeah, yeah.
gold.
Compared
Yeah,
compared
yeah.
to the other ones. Yeah.
So anyway, so the point is that like you can get gold on the stuff and you don't hear anything about it. Nobody talks about it, and I don't think they ever will.
No.
I don't think it'll ever become popular, and I don't think we'll always be able to buy it. And I don't think things are always evolving. And my point is with the currency stuff is that like just I think you just do the best you can to navigate the currency thing. You know,
Absolutely.
take advantageous trips. The dollar is so temporarily strong that like if you're not traveling right now, you're crazy.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. But Evie, you know, it's been such a pleasure having you come down to Wall Street Silver. What a like it's so incredible and like we're so grateful and I'm grateful myself for you coming down and sharing your knowledge with Wall Street Silver. Hopefully as the market develops and we're watching gold and silver closely, we'd love to have you back. We'd love to have you come back on.
Yeah, I mean, people. So you mentioned, I wrote a book about this stuff. Why gold? Why now? It's on
Yeah,
Amazon. But
I'll
more
put the link in
importantly,
the description as well.
yeah, it's a great book. I got another book coming out. It's probably going to be 6 weeks. I mean, it's taken a little longer for the cover design, all this stuff. But I read a newsletter, ebtucker.com, and people can read that for free. There is a subscriber side, but there's a big regular side, and I that's the only place that I publish. And
Wow.
I'm not involved with any companies. At the moment this year, I'm not involved in anything else. That's all I do. So like my full time job is I write that letter, and
Wow.
people, it's really great. It's only every other Thursday, so I mean, you get like this note. I just finished tomorrow's essay. I just finished today. It'll go out in the morning at 9 o'clock, and I'm telling you, you're crazy if you don't read that. It's really good, and
Yeah,
so
I'll
maybe
put it in the link
people
in the
when
description as
yeah, when
well.
I come back, we can talk about what I'm up to. I write about like how to get a tour of the White House.
What? No
That's what I'm
way.
yeah, you can do it. People don't know
That's
how to do it,
awesome.
but I have all the secrets of how to do it, and you'll find out at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. You'll find out how.
That's awesome. Okay, yeah, I'll put that
Yeah,
in the description for sure. Yeah, that's
cool.
incredible. But yeah, thank you so much, Evie. Thank you everyone for watching, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.